Listen carefully. Most of you are operating at 5% of your mental capacity, and you don't even know it. You're distracted, unfocused, and reactive, waiting for life to happen to you. But there's a man who understood something fundamental about the human mind, Thomas Shelby. In a post-war world where chaos ruled, he built an empire using pure intellectual dominance. His weapon wasn't bullets, but words. It was discipline, strategy, and an obsession with understanding human nature before his enemies understood themselves. This isn't inspiration, this is information, and what you do with it determines whether you lead or follow, whether you win or lose. So stop wasting mental energy on useless thoughts. Your brain is the most powerful instrument you possess, yet you treat it like a default setting on a smartphone. You never optimize it. You never push it. You never weaponize it. Think about this. Thomas Shelby didn't win his wars because he was the strongest man in the room. He won because he was always 10 moves ahead. He understood that information is currency, that psychology determines outcomes, and that discipline separates the winners from the losers. He didn't just react to threats. He anticipated them. He didn't chase opportunities. He created them. This is what separates exceptional people from ordinary ones. An ordinary person sees a problem and responds. An exceptional person sees 3 problems before they materialize and neutralizes them in silence. Your brain operates in patterns. Right now, those patterns are probably comfortable, which means they're destroying you. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Thomas Shelby would never be comfortable. He was perpetually vigilant, perpetually calculating, perpetually calculation. Every interaction was strategic mapping. Every moment was an opportunity to gain advantage. But here's what most people misunderstand. This isn't about being paranoid or manipulative in the conventional sense. This is about respect for your own potential. This is about refusing to accept mediocrity. When you train your brain like a weapon, you're not training it to harm people. You're training it to cut through noise, to see truth, to make decisions that serve your objectives. The average person makes decisions based on emotion, external pressure, and what everyone else is doing. Thomas Shelby made decisions based on calculated risk, personal data analysis, and what everyone else wasn't seeing. That's the difference between being played and being the player. Your brain can be trained. It's not fixed. It's not predetermined. You're not born with a certain amount of intelligence and stuck with it. You're born with potential. And what you do with that potential is entirely on you. Every book you read, every conversation you analyze, every problem you solve, these are reps. These are exercises that make your mind sharper, faster, and more lethal. But training requires specificity. You can't just think harder. You have to think differently. You have to rewire how your brain processes information, how it solves problems, and how it navigates social dynamics. You have to become intentional about your own cognition. Most people are on autopilot. They wake up, they repeat yesterday, and they go to bed. Thomas Shelby would call this suicide. Not physical death, but intellectual death. And intellectual death leads to every other kind of failure. Discipline is not motivation. Let's be clear about that immediately. Discipline is the framework that keeps you functioning when motivation disappears. And motivation always disappears. Thomas Shelby operated on pure discipline. He wasn't inspired every morning. He didn't wake up with tingles of motivation. He woke up with a schedule, a purpose, and unwavering commitment to that schedule. This is what separated him from men who had bursts of energy and then collapsed back into mediocrity. Your brain, like any weapon, requires maintenance. You cannot neglect it and expect it to perform. Here's what discipline looks like in practical terms. This is non-negotiable. Your brain consolidates memories during sleep. It literally repairs itself. When you sleep inadequately, you're not being tough, you're being stupid. You're operating a high-performance instrument on low fuel. Thomas Shelby didn't sleep 8 hours because he was weak. He slept 8 hours because he understood that a tired mind makes terrible decisions. 7 to 9 hours. Consistent, non-negotiable. Your sleep schedule should be identical every single day. Your body is a machine that runs on routine. When you give it a routine, it optimizes. When you treat it like a novelty, it falters. Monday through Sunday, same time, no exceptions. This isn't comfort. This is strategy. Your brain needs blank space, not meditation, not relaxation silence. A time where you're not consuming information, not making decisions, and not being stimulated. Thomas Shelby took walks alone. These weren't leisure activities. These were strategic pauses where his mind could process, organize, and prepare. Implement 1 hour daily with zero inputs, no phone, no conversation, no media, just your mind and your environment. Your subconscious will use this time to solve problems you've been consciously struggling with. This is when breakthroughs happen. What you allow into your mind determines what your mind produces. If you're consuming gossip, entertainment, and low-value content, your mind will produce gossip, entertainment, and low-value thinking. Audit everything you consume. Every video, every article, every conversation. Does it make you sharper or softer? Does it move you closer to your objectives or further away? Thomas Shelby would never waste mental bandwidth on useless information. He consumed only data that was strategically relevant. This doesn't mean being robotic. It means being intentional. You have limited cognitive capacity every single day. Guard it like you guard money. Your brain is attached to your body. A weak body houses a weak mind. When you neglect physical training, you're weakening your mental instrument. Exercise is not optional. It's foundational. This isn't about looking impressive. This is about maintaining the physical systems that support mental performance. Your cardiovascular system, your hormonal balance, your neurological efficiency, all of these improve with consistent physical challenge. 4 to 6 days per week of physical training. Intensity varies, but consistency never wavers. When your body is strong, your mind becomes sharper. When your body is weak, your mind becomes scattered. Every day, you make hundreds of decisions. Most of them are small, but they compound. Thomas Shelby didn't waste decision-making energy on trivial choices. He used systems. What you wear, what you eat, what time you work. These should be predetermined. Eliminate the friction of daily decisions so your mental energy is available for strategic thinking. Create systems that don't require constant choices. Decision fatigue is real. Your brain gets tired from making choices. The more trivial decisions you can automate, the more power you reserve for important decisions. This is the foundation. Without discipline, everything else crumbles. You cannot think your way past poor discipline. You cannot motivate your way through inconsistency. Build the framework first. Information is an advantage. This is the Shelby principle that separates operators from dreamers. Most people go through life reacting to information. Someone tells them something and they respond. Someone presents a problem and they think about solutions. This is backwards. The real advantage belongs to the person who gathers information before situations develop. Thomas Shelby was constantly gathering intelligence. He spoke to everyone. He watched everyone. He analyzed patterns. He understood that before you can outthink someone, you need to understand how they think. Before you can predict their moves, you need to see their patterns. Start seeing the world as an information collection system. Every person you encounter is data. Every interaction is intelligent. When you're in a conversation, you should be on 2 tracks simultaneously. Track 1, the surface conversation. Track 2, analyzing the person's psychology. What are they really saying? What are they avoiding saying? What do their word choices reveal? What do their body language patterns indicate? What are they incentivized to want? This sounds exhausting, but it becomes automatic. Your brain is capable of this naturally. You're just not training it to do it. Keep a written record, not a journal of feelings, an intelligence file. When you learn something about someone that's strategically relevant, write it down. When you notice a pattern, document it. When you see someone's weakness, note it. This is not malicious. This is preparation. Thomas Shelby would have notebooks filled with information about people, patterns, and possibilities. He understood that the person with the best information makes the best decisions. People are not mysteries. They're systems with inputs and outputs. When you understand the system, you can predict the behavior. Pay attention to what people do under pressure. Their actions under stress reveal their actual values and capabilities, not their aspirations. Watch how people respond to losing. Watch how they respond to winning. The weak are arrogant when they win and desperate when they lose. The strong remain calculated in both situations. Identify what drives people. Is it money, status, safety, belonging, dominance? Once you understand someone's primary driver, You understand approximately 70% of their behavior. You can predict what they'll do in certain situations because you understand their incentive structure. This is not about manipulation. This is about clear-eyed understanding. Thomas Shelby didn't manipulate people. He understood them so completely that they often moved exactly as he expected. Never accept information from a single source. A single source has bias, an agenda, and blind spots. The person giving you information has reasons for telling you that particular version. Cross-reference everything. Get intelligence from multiple people about the same situation. Look for consistent patterns versus contradictions. The contradictions are where truth becomes visible. Ask specific questions. Vague questions generate vague answers. When you ask someone about their experience with something, ask about the specific moments, the specific choices, and the specific outcomes. Get granular. Organize your intelligence. Create a simple system where you can access information quickly. Write down key people and their primary motivations, the corner situations where people failed and succeeded, the cons you've observed, the cons you've observed, the key gaps in your understanding. This is your personal intelligence database. Over time, this becomes phenomenally valuable. You start to see patterns others miss. You make connections others don't. You predict situations others can't foresee. Use your intelligence gathering to position yourself strategically. Know where information flows. Know who has influence. Know which decisions matter and which don't. Thomas Shelby positioned himself at the intersection of information, influence, and opportunity. He wasn't doing random work. He was strategically placed where his efforts had maximum leverage. Start mapping your own world this way. Where do decisions get made? Where does information flow? Where can you position yourself to have maximum impact? This is not about office politics. This is about understanding systems. The person with the best information and the clearest understanding of how systems work will always outthink the person who's operating on assumptions. Hesitation kills. Indecision creates vulnerability. Thomas Shelby understood this completely. Most people think decision-making is about getting 100% certainty before acting. This is delusion. You never have 100% certainty. You have information, pattern recognition, and calculated risk. You make the best decision with the information available, and you commit completely. Shelby would make decisions rapidly and commit with absolute conviction, not because he was reckless, but because he understood that hesitation costs more than a wrong decision made decisively. When you face a decision, you should have a process, not paralysis, analysis, a framework. Gather relevant information. Define what success looks like. Identify the consequences of being wrong. Identify the consequences of being right. Understand the timing. When is the decision window closing? Then make the decision, not the perfect decision. The best decision available at that moment. Thomas Shelby didn't wait for perfect information. He waited for enough information. He understood that in competition, the person who acts decisively with 80% certainty will often beat the person still deliberating with 90% certainty. Speed and decisiveness are themselves strategic advantages. The moment you decide, you're all in. This is where most people fail. They make a decision and then second-guess it, creating mental friction and inconsistent execution. Once you decide, your energy goes into execution, not re-evaluation. Re-evaluation happens after you have results, not during implementation. This requires genuine intellectual confidence. You trust your process. You trust your intelligence gathering. You trust your analysis. Then you execute with full commitment. Shelby never looked back, wondering if he'd made the right choice during the execution. He executed the choice completely, then evaluated the results afterward. Before implementing a major decision, imagine it failed. What would have caused that failure? This isn't pessimism, it's preparation. Write down, a kench. How could this fail? A kench. What risks am I not seeing? A kench. Who would benefit if this fails? A kench. What assumptions am I making that could be wrong? This exercise reveals blind spots before they become disasters. Thomas Shelby would mentally wargame scenarios before acting. He'd consider what could go wrong and build defenses. High-pressure situations reveal who you are. Most people fall apart. Their decision-making deteriorates. Their thinking becomes scattered. Train yourself to think more clearly under pressure, not less. When the stakes rise, your clarity should rise. Shelby's best thinking happened when the pressure was highest, because he trained himself to be calmest when others were panicking. How? Through repetition. Deliberately putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, making decisions with consequences, building tolerance for pressure gradually. Here's what separates people. When everyone else is analyzing, you're executing. When everyone else is afraid, you're clear. When everyone else is conflicted, you're committed. Decisiveness is a skill. You develop it by making decisions. You improve it by studying the outcomes. You master it by refusing to let hesitation become your default mode. Thomas Shelby was decisive, not because he was fearless. He was decisive because he trained himself to make decisions quickly and commit completely. This became his competitive advantage. Your decisiveness will become yours too. Information and decisions mean nothing without execution. This is where most people fail catastrophically. You can have the perfect plan. You can understand your environment completely. You can make brilliant decisions. If you don't execute with relentless consistency, you're just another person with good ideas and zero results. Thomas Shelby wasn't just thinking, he was acting. Every day, consistently, without exception. This is why he built what he built. Your standard for execution should be higher than your standard for planning. Most people do the opposite. They plan meticulously, but execute casually. Define what done means. Not almost done, not good enough, done, complete, to standard. This requires being ruthlessly specific about what success looks like at the execution level. When you execute something, it should be executed fully. No corner cutting, no half measures, no close enough. This builds a reputation for reliability. It also trains your mind to accept only quality output. Shelby's people knew that when he said something would happen, it happened. There was no ambiguity. There was no delay. This wasn't kindness. It was standards. Break your objectives into daily actions, not vague intentions. Specific, measurable actions. What will you do today that moves your objective forward? Not in general. Specifically, writing what needs to be written, making the calls that need to be made, gathering the information that needs gathering. Do this every single day. The person who executes 70% daily for 300 days achieves vastly more than the person who executes 100% for 30 days. Consistency beats intensity in execution. Thomas Shelby was consistent. He didn't have days where he was on fire and days where he did nothing. Every day had action. When execution meets resistance, most people stop and reassess. The obstacle becomes a sign that they're wrong. Wrong. Obstacles are information. They tell you where you need to adjust. They don't tell you to quit. They tell you to recalibrate. Thomas Shelby encountered constant obstacles, laws, competitors, social pressure, logistics. Everything resisted his movement. He didn't see obstacles as signs of failure. He saw them as requirements for better strategy. When you hit resistance, analyze it. What does it reveal? What needs adjusting? How do you navigate around it or through it? Then adjust and continue. Momentum is real. When you execute consistently, you build momentum. This momentum makes subsequent execution easier. People see you executing. They start responding differently. Opportunities begin presenting themselves. Your own mind starts believing your capability when it sees evidence daily. This is a psychological fact. When you execute consistently, your brain starts believing in your capacity. When you fail to execute, your brain believes in your incapacity. Which do you want reinforced? Execution is not inspiration. It's not about feeling like it. It's about doing it regardless of feeling. You execute when you're tired. You execute even when you're unmotivated. You hesitate when the result is uncertain. You execute because the execution itself is the objective, not because the outcome is guaranteed. Thomas Shelby would execute a plan even when success was uncertain, not because he was reckless, but because he understood that executing a strategic plan, even with uncertain outcomes, provides better information than no execution at all. Start executing today, not perfectly, just execute. The perfection comes through iteration, not through planning. The strongest predator is not the one with the best past strategy. It's the one most capable of adapting to new conditions. Thomas Shelby operated in a world of constant change. His strategy in year 1 would have been obsolete in year 3 if he hadn't evolved it. He understood that rigidity is death in a dynamic environment. Every execution produces results. Some work, some don't. The learning happens when you analyze both types honestly. When something succeeds, understand why. Was it the strategy or luck? Was it timing or execution quality? Which elements were essential versus which were incidental? When something fails, understand why. Was the strategy wrong? Was the execution flawed? Was the timing impossible? What would you do differently with current information? This requires brutal honesty. Most people succeed and attribute it entirely to their brilliance, which means they don't learn the specific elements that worked. Most people fail and blame external circumstances, which means they don't learn what they could control. Shelby learned from everything. The mistake didn't discourage him, it educated him. Your current knowledge has an expiration date. What works today may not work tomorrow. You must be deliberately learning new information constantly. What's changing in your field? What's changing in the broader world? How are people solving problems differently? What tools have emerged? What patterns are shifting? Spend time studying your industry beyond your current role. Spend time understanding adjacent industries. Spend time learning about technology, psychology, economics, and human behavior. Shelby understood people and power structures deeply because he studied them systematically. He wasn't just operating, he was learning. Sometimes evolution means small adjustments. Sometimes it means complete strategic pivots. You need to be willing to abandon approaches that worked but are now becoming less effective. This requires detaching from the ego. You're not attached to your old strategy. You're attached to outcomes. If the market is shifting, shift with it. If your methods are becoming less effective, evolve them. If new information changes your understanding, change your approach. The person too invested in their old strategy dies defending it. The person willing to evolve thrives. Don't build rigid systems. Build systems with built-in feedback loops. Every week, assess what's working, what's not working. What new information do we have? How should we adjust? This creates continuous improvement. You're not planning for perfection and then executing. You're executing, learning, and improving. Your brain needs to be in constant development mode, not comfort mode, not I know how to do this mode. Genuine, I'm learning new approaches mode. This means doing things that challenge you. This means reading material that's difficult. This means trying approaches that might fail. This means accepting that knowledge is always provisional, and better understanding is always possible. Thomas Shelby evolved throughout his story. He made mistakes, learned from them, and adapted. This is why he survived in an environment where so many others didn't. Your survival in your competitive environment depends on the same capacity. Your greatest vulnerability is inside your own mind. Fear, doubt, distraction, and emotional reactivity will undermine everything else. Thomas Shelby built a mental fortress. Emotions didn't disappear. He experienced fear, anger, and pain, but they didn't control his decisions. He could feel things without being controlled by them. Emotions are information. They're not commands. They tell you something, but they don't direct your behavior. When you feel fear, it's telling you something is dangerous. Listen to the information. Don't execute the fear response automatically. When you feel anger, it's telling you that something violated your values or interests. Listen to that information. Don't act out the anger automatically. Separate the emotion from the response. Feel it. Acknowledge it. Understand what it's telling you. Then decide your response consciously. This is where discipline separates excellence from mediocrity. The person who can feel fear and act anyway is dangerous. The person who can feel anger and think clearly is powerful. Your internal narrative creates reality. The story you tell yourself determines your behavior. If your internal narrative is, I'm not smart enough, you'll execute hesitantly and find evidence confirming that story. If your internal narrative is, I'm learning to think more clearly, you'll seek information that teaches you, and you'll find that evidence. Challenge your internal narrative constantly. Is it true? Is it useful? Is it based on evidence or assumption? Shelby's internal narrative was, I'm capable of understanding any situation and navigating it successfully. This wasn't arrogance. It was a story he reinforced through successful navigation of difficult situations. Your attention is your most limited resource. Where you place it determines what your brain processes. When your attention is scattered, your thinking is scattered. When your attention is focused, your thinking becomes sharp. Remove attention competitors. Your phone is an attention vacuum. Social media are manufactured distractions. News is a constant attention drain. Protect your attention like you protect your money. Be ruthlessly selective about what gets your mental focus. The mental fortress isn't about never feeling pressure. It's about maintaining function under pressure. Shelby operated in constant high-pressure situations. Rather than breaking under the pressure, he became clearer. How? He'd built a base of discipline, knowledge, and executed success. This base gave him confidence that he could navigate new pressure. Previous successful navigation of difficult situations built evidence that he could handle the current situation. You build resilience the same way, through progressive challenge. You take on slightly uncomfortable situations, navigate them successfully, and your tolerance for pressure increases. Regardless of external chaos, your internal core remains steady. You have values. You have objectives. You have standards. You know who you are. When external pressure tries to move you, you don't move. You think about it. You analyze it. But your core doesn't shift based on temporary pressure. This is the mental fortress. Build it now. You now understand what Thomas Shelby understood. Your brain is a weapon that must be sharpened daily. Discipline builds the foundation. Intelligence gathering reveals advantage. Decisive action separates intention from results. Relentless execution compounds small improvements into exceptional outcomes. Continuous evolution keeps you ahead of obsolescence. A mental fortress protects your capacity to think clearly under pressure. These aren't optional practices. They're requirements for anyone serious about dominating their competitive landscape. Stop waiting for inspiration. Start building discipline. Stop consuming without learning. Start gathering intelligence. Stop thinking without acting. Start executing. Stop hesitating. Start deciding. The person you become depends entirely on the choices you make today. Make them count.